That brings us to our final segment, which is our mailbag question. This one actually sent us into by a family member of the podcast, Mr. Mark Beutner. Is it explained in the Vader comics or EU legends why Vader doesn't force sense that Luke and Leia are his kids? Or is he that brainwashed / manipulated by Palpatine that in Episode 5, when he learned of Luke's last name, that's when he began his redemption to the light?
This is a cool question. Thanks, little brother.
Great question.
So, I mean, Zach, do you want to take a swing at this one first?
So, you've read more of the comics than I have, but if I remember correctly, Vader learns of someone named Skywalker in the comics in between 4 and 5. And there is that amazing, amazing panel. It's a whole splash page, if I remember correctly, or if not, it's a whole page. You can look it up, and it's Vader so mad in the Force that he's standing on the Death Star, and the window in front of him cracks when he learns that there is somebody named Skywalker on Tatooine, and that's why he sends Boba Fett to figure out who this Skywalker is. So they kind of set it up in the comics, in the Vader comics. That he did kind of know a little bit, that they're at least somebody using his name, but I'm pretty sure Matt knows a little bit more. So I'm gonna throw
it was just a slight reverse of what you said. They've established in canon that shortly after Star Wars Episode 4, he sends Boba Fett off to figure out who the hell that rebel pilot was that had the Force, and they have this little fight. Boba and Luke, where they kick each other's butts. Boba definitely wins, but they both escape. And Boba's like, all I found out was his name, Skywalker. And then you get that moment where Vader realizes that for about 20 years, Palpatine's been lying to him, and that he has a son. And then, as he's standing on the bridge of the Executor, the capital ship, and as he's looking out at the Imperial fleet. And he's just like, it will all be mine. And he's making fists just at his sides, and the window is splintering in front of him. Yeah. Yes. So that's when he finds out in canon.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, as to why he doesn't force sense, I think it also in the Vader comics and another run, it might be the Charles Soule run, we get the whole Vader going through his grief over Padme, and his exploration of the dark side and all that. And I think that's probably why he doesn't force sense them, is he's so in grief over thinking that they're dead that he doesn't reach out to see.
Right on.
Unless you have, do you have any theories on that?
Yeah. So again, little brother, fantastic question, but him not being able to force sense that Luke and Leia are his kids. I think it's a common misconception about Star Wars, but that's not how the Force works, right? Insert the Han thing. That's not how the Force works. The Force is consistently inconsistent. There is human error involved in it. Yeah. Always. And you can say that that's bad writing. I think it's more interesting writing. It's not Thor calling his hammer and flying into the sky, or Captain America throwing his shield, or Spider-Man shooting web shooters. There's human error in it. Mm-hmm. That's why Obi-Wan doesn't force speed to Qui-Gon in Star Wars Episode 1, even when we've seen force speed ahead of time. Darth Maul and Savage Opress have to retreat from pirates on the Clone Wars. The Force doesn't just, I activate force speed, right? It's, am I centered, am I focused, or is there chaos happening all around me, right? Am I exhausted and I'm trying to do everything I can to stay on top of my breath and stay centered and stay focused, or stay enraged if I'm a Darksider. But in Attack of the Clones, Anakin and Obi-Wan can't sense the Kohans about to kill Padme on the other side of a door because they're having an argument about Palpatine.
Yeah. And
then they go, I sense it too, and they run in. But there's a door between them, and that's it, and they couldn't sense it.
Yeah.
To Acolyte, May can't sense Chimera as a stranger.
Mm-hmm.
The entire Jedi Council, all of the most powerful Jedi in the universe, are sitting across a desk from Palpatine, and they have no clue that he is a Sith Lord. I think that if you're not looking for it, the Force isn't hey, by the way, here's ultimate knowledge. Just in case you don't know.
Also,
What were you going to say?
in Rebels, I mean, Ahsoka knows who Vader is actively fighting against him, and doesn't realize it's Anakin until she, like, sits down and meditates and, like, reaches out and is like, it can't be Anakin. Like, and then, like, she realizes it is, and it destroys her. Like, that scene is heartbreaking when she figures out Vader is Anakin. You know, she's like, I haven't sensed my master, mainly because he's, like, gone because Darth Vader has taken over in his rage, you know. I killed him. He was weak, so I killed him. But yeah, I think that says it too. You know, like, you gotta kind of sometimes be looking for it to figure it out.
Well, and the force of others, right? The force is about connection. That's what George was getting at. Vader figures out Luke is there, then he can sense him. And then over time, after they spend more, like, after they fight in Empire, they have such a strong connection, he can talk to him from, like, ways away. He can sense when he's close. And then when he's digging into Luke's mind in Return of the Jedi, he figures out another connection Luke has to Leia. And he's like, oh, I got
Twins.
2 kids. Great. And again, how twisted Vader was, another conversation, but not, yay, I have kids, but, oh, great. So if I have to kill you, cool, I'll just turn her. Not a problem. I got another option.
Yeah.
And so I think in the simplest versions, that's not how the Force works, right? And that is consistent. And number one, that leaves doors open for more stories. Because if the Jedi were all powerful, Star Wars is boring. Mm-hmm. It's one of the things about the Genndy Tartakovsky series, the 2D Clone Wars. Super fun. There's a reason Lucas never portrayed the Jedi like that. Because if they were, Order 66 doesn't happen. Yeah. And the stories are boring. Because the Jedi are all... If all the Jedi are Superman, Star Wars is boring. It just is. Mm-hmm. There's a reason that The Force Unleashed is a video game. Super fun video game. Super fun anime-inspired show, the 2D Clone Wars. Mm-hmm. But 3D Clone Wars is just, to me, it's the only way that canon could work, right? Where the Force is fallible because it's fallible people using it. Yeah.
Well, Matt and I have always said that the Genndy comics, or the Genndy Clone Wars, is what the in-universe stories of the Jedi were like. You know, it's like what the wives' tales that people tell. Like, oh, the Jedi were so powerful they could force push an entire army away. You know.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. It's the legends, right? You know, as Ahsoka says, there's always a bit of truth in legends. Mm-hmm. But yeah. So the simplest answer to your question, Mark, is I don't think that's how it works. But I think it's a good thing. Yeah. That it's like that. And the second half of your question, or is he that brainwashed / manipulated that when he learned about Luke, that's when he began his redemption to the light? Yes. Yes, because at the end of Empire Strikes Back, through a whole movie we saw, was it 2 other times, an Imperial officer screws up and Vader kills him. At the end of that movie, after meeting his son, and then of course he tries to turn him and Luke leaves, he's not doing well, and they get away because Piet screwed up. Mm-hmm. And the camera moves in on Piet, and he thinks he's dead, and Vader just walks past him and goes and broods. He's starting to lose his will to do the dark side stuff, because even though he'll say, it's because I want you to overthrow the Emperor with me, he would really love to not be alone.
Yeah.
Good question, Mark.
Mm-hmm.